Welcome everyone to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined once again by my good friend Matt.
Chris, did you know that the statue that they're taking out down at the Panther Stadium, the Panthers in the statue have testicles?
Wait, there's so much I have to dissect of what you just said. Cause isn't the statue that they're taking down Jerry Richardson?
Yes, it's a Jerry Richardson statue, but there's two Panthers on either side. I just sent you a picture.
And
You can't really tell on that picture I just sent you, but I promise they have testicles.
wow, I mean,
Here's another one. This
yeah,
is a little better. One.
now I'm just being sent hardened.
Oh, you can really see them in that
Panthers,
one.
Texans. Oh yeah, you definitely can. Wow. I mean, I guess they were looking for accurate anatomy.
Yeah.
On all fronts. Here. Well, there we go. I mean, I guess I didn't realize that for whatever reason in my brain, I just never really thought about a panther being male. They can. I don't understand why I thought they could only be female. I don't know.
So not that they didn't have balls, but that they were only female animals.
Yeah, right.
Huh.
I don't know why. There was just something. There was something like in my brain that I was just like, yeah, panthers.
It's not like calico cats.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why. There's just something ingrained in me that I was just kind of like just like seeing a panther with any set is any a set down there is just it was not at all what I was ever perceiving. Not that I was like for sure being like, oh yeah, there's like panthers are only female for sure, but it's just like for whatever reason it was just something that kind of like was ingrained in me, and I cannot give you a good enough reason why. Anyways, welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Welcome.
So this is like the second time this year where we've recorded a podcast, and then 2 weeks later we would go to record another one, and life has just gone out of control again, in ways that I think that, and I hope that in the long run will be good, but at the moment I think that right now it's just I guess the best way that I could describe it is that there was a tragedy struck again when yet another black man was killed by a police officer, and the good that has come out of it is that more than ever there's been protests throughout the country and throughout the world demanding that there be some kind of change, and that you know that police officers were held more accountable. There's been calls for defunding the police departments. There's been calls for any kind of police reform to just stop this systematic racism that has been happening since the birth of our country. And I've been encouraged by the fact that it seems like more than ever that people are not running away from the idea of the Black Lives Matter movement, that people are embracing it a lot more than they were in the past. Do I think that some of it's disingenuous when people are like, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter? Yes, I think that there's probably a lot of brands out there that are taking full advantage of a movement like this. But it's nice to kind of just see that it seems like there's some real pushback happening, and I hope that we can kind of continue really, really sticking it to people and really going out on the streets and making sure that black people get the rights that they absolutely deserve. And we could talk about the NFL side of this in a second, but I just, for you, Go Cubs, you and I think we relatively are on the same wavelength in terms
of course.
That was a hard way to put it. I meant like it just in a lot of things in life in terms of viewpoints. I think you and I agree on a lot, and for you and I being both white guys, we will never know the experience that black people go through, but
we will never face adversity because of the people that we are.
Right. And I just from you and from what has been your feelings over the last few weeks, seeing what has been happening with with George Floyd, with people protesting George Floyd's death, and hopefully, I mean, luckily the police officer was arrested and was charged with second-degree murder, but obviously that's just
He's
one
still got
instance.
to be convicted.
And he has got to be convicted,
Yeah.
and it's also still one instance of many, like Breonna Taylor. No one has arrested her killers
Exactly.
yet or anything
Yeah.
like that. Just what has been going through your brain the last few weeks? I'm just curious.
It's a lot of being hurt and being upset about all the things that are happening. It's seeing the continued violence by police officers, and it's funny. It's not funny, but ironic that the continuing the continuing of, oh, these people are protesting police violence and police brutality, let's be violent and brutal towards them, is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, fucking today, the NYPD guy coming out saying to stop treating police officers like thugs. It is ridiculous.
It's the most ironic shit.
this group of people wants to be victimized.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that consistently do the victimizing. It's I mean, this is obviously a political standpoint, but there's a subset of people who would fly that black and white American flag with the blue line,
Mm-hmm.
who bitch about snowflakes and liberals and safe spaces, and then when they have to actually experience the slightest amount of criticism or adversity, that they baby up.
It is just going back to the NYPD guy. It's funny because when you actually listen to what he's saying, it's like, oh, like you're treating us like thugs. We've been basically. He's like, we've been oppressed over the last 2 weeks, and we're not the thugs here. You have to treat us with respect. And it's like, bro, you're literally stating what black people want from you guys. They want you guys need to start treating them with respect. Like, it's just
Exactly.
It's so insane.
Yeah. Fuck white supremacy. Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Donate to whatever bail funds or causes you can if you're not able to protest.
Yeah. And I think that I speak, we speak for all of, TCP, the people who are involved in TCP, all that. Like, we denounce any white supremacy, and if you consider yourself a white supremacist or you're anti Black Lives Matter at this point, like, we do not want you here. You're not.
You need to grow up.
We're not gonna cater to you and your audience. Like, we don't want you here. Is the thing.
People need to learn how to view things from other people's viewpoints, and I just don't mean like liberal conservative viewpoints. I mean people who are not like yourself. People who do not look, act, whatever else like you.
Yeah.
Are like have experiences that you will never know about. And the more that you open yourself up to learn about those, and the more that you are empathetic and purposefully supportive and learning, not just, oh, I'll give it a chance, like being involved, the better of a person that you will be. And I wish more people knew that. I am trying to another thing too is just people need to be willing to admit when they are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the biggest thing, I think, for a lot of trouble recently, a lot of conflict recently, is that uh, uh, everyone gets in their head that they have to think this one thing, and they're weak if they switch sides. If you are proven wrong about something, it does not make sense to stake your claim in that wrong aspect.
Yeah. I think that just generally people want to dig their feet in on things, and they
don't want
like...
to lose. They don't want to lose.
Like you can't live life and be afraid of losing. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to accept
or being wrong.
Well, that's the more specific. Yes.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to be able to be wrong sometimes. You have to be able to accept that you're wrong.
There's a statement that that I've my high school physics teacher told me that I will pretty much always take with me, and it's the phrase, being ignorant is okay, staying ignorant is not.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know about something, you don't know about it. You've never been experienced to it, and you can't help that you haven't known it yet. But when it's brought to your attention and you have the resources to educate yourself about it and become better about it, it's not okay to stay ignorant of a problem.
And I think that is... that might be a good transition, but before I like fully do that, I just want to say, like, again, to everyone who's out there who wants to support these causes, I think that there's so many people who want to look at the bad of these protests and be like, oh, well, they're looting and rioting and like losing their fucking minds. But truth be told, like, the people just want to fucking be free of the hell of waking up every day and being scared to go outside, being afraid of being stopped by a police officer. They just want to live their fucking lives. And so I just please, for the love of God, just like, listen to people, listen to black people, please. Listen to what they're scared of right now, and that things need to change for them to live their better lives. And let me just go ahead and there's been a great resource being shared around that a lot of people are sharing. The website's blacklivesmatters.carrd.co, and essentially it's just a list of things and resources and places that you could sign and donate for advice for protesters, all of that. Like, please, I'm going to link it in the description of this podcast if you're interested at all. I hope you are, of helping a movement like this. Please visit this link. It's going to be very important.
And this is just one more thing.
Yeah.
Think about how you react to certain things in the news. Think about it in terms of race. Think about it. How would I have reacted to this if it was white people? How would I have reacted to this if it was the reopen states protest that got so much more quote unquote positive attention than with a fraction of the people that Black Lives Matter protests have.
Yeah.
How would you have reacted to it differently if they were black people, or if this high number of protesters were all white? Black Lives Matter protesters were all white. Would you have reacted differently?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's and remember, all lives matter, or all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter.
You almost said a bad thing.
I almost... Well, no, okay. I was trying to... you know what I was going for.
I know what you meant.
Don't accuse me. No, I'm kidding. So please visit those websites. And again, we don't mean to... I know that this is a very lighthearted podcast. We enjoy doing this, but I feel like this was the perfect way and perfect podcast for us to kind of really get our thoughts out about this.
Especially since and we're going to get into this, but the NFL is such a black organization.
Sure.
That we are so associated to it because of this podcast that it doesn't make sense for us to be quiet about it.
Yeah. So I I was gonna try to find the transcripts and stuff before I got on, but I forgot to set it up, so I apologize. I'm gonna ad lib a little bit here, but the transition to the NFL point of view on this is one of the major, moments in recent years for the NFL was the Colin Kaepernick protests, and for Colin Kaepernick to kneel to protest police brutality, and this was botched from the very beginning. We all know this. He has not been. Colin Kaepernick has not gotten a job back in the NFL because of this, because they view him as controversial, and for the most part, his protests were turned into conversations about patriotism and the national anthem more than actually police brutality. With that said, last week was kind of seemed to be like it could hopefully be a turning point for the NFL. I don't know. But a bunch of NFL social media individuals teamed up with a bunch of NFL players, or the most prominent black voices in the NFL, and they made a major video just asking Roger Goodell to just acknowledge that the NFL was wrong to do what they did, that they did not listen and they need to do better, and that Black Lives Matter. And Commissioner Roger Goodell, they initially released a statement after the George Floyd protests were really starting to get national attention, and it was just as half-assed of a statement as you could imagine.
It was a generic brand
message. Yeah, it was like, the NFL family is greatly saddened by the tragic events across our country. The protesters' reaction to these incidents reflect the pain, anger, and frustration that so many of us feel. And it kind of goes on and on. But it's just not really anything of substance. But then Roger Goodell, again, to the NFL's credit, they posted that video of all the players kind of asking Goodell to recite this message. And again, I'm going to try to find it on my own, the exact wording of what he said, but essentially he went on and said, then we acknowledge we were wrong, we screwed up, and Black Lives Matter. So it's like, and like, that is just such, it's just so nice to hear them actually say what, like, they've been dodging the issue for so long, and like they were always like, all right, well, okay, don't worry guys, we'll speak out against police brutality, let's work with police, and then like they would always bring the police officers in.
Yeah, at this point, saying the phrase Black Lives Matter is like step one.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's the bare minimum that people can do at this point.
Absolutely.
So I hope that this organization continues to support this movement and doesn't just do it because it was a fad last week.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you want people to actually, especially people who have a lot of freaking money, like the NFL does, to like give money to these really important causes,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just, we need, like, black people's voices, unfortunately, are not going to be enough. We need white people to kind of come in here and like actually like help the black voices rise up. You know what I mean? Like,
give the space to them.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we need to all work together to make sure that black people are not going to be afraid any longer, and that police officers are not going to, do what they have been doing for all these years. And look, we could talk about like all the different, reforms, and I just consider myself not very educated on that front. I don't want to necessarily like dive into like the particulars of that, but I just know that it's gonna be a lot better for all of us to just rally behind our black friends and our black, people who are in our lives that deal with this struggle, and give them a platform as much as possible. And I look at, and again, Goodell, to his credit, he did the bare minimum, and he did exactly, he did what people have been wanted to say for a while, and he made it sound like that potentially he's going to allow players to express their frustration through protest, to peacefully protest. And that brings us to our president, who decided to tweet back at Goodell and say, "Oh, so you're gonna have them kneel during the national anthem, or and all that." And I mean, this is, and not to directly go against, to directly talk shit about Trump, but fuck Trump. But and also, like, it's like, no matter how this ends up going for the NFL, they're in a rock and a hard place where they're gonna have the players pissed off at them, or they're gonna have the president rally his base and like go after Goodell, and it's like, I don't know how do you think the NFL can like balance this annoying national anthem narrative, and then the players just seeking to have a voice against police brutality.
Yeah, it's it's an unfortunate, like, this whole thing sucks.
Yeah.
I hope it will lead to positive change in the end of it, but it sucks right now.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone.
Yeah.
But especially black people.
Yeah. Not
cops, fuck cops.
And
I want it to suck for them.
The other I guess major headline of last week was Saints quarterback Drew Brees. He came out shortly after things were protests were happening. Went on the Yahoo Yacht Finance a podcast or video or whatever it was, and he said that he did not have respect for anyone who knelt for who kneels for the national anthem, and that he does not, like, he said that he's like supports the player, like his teammates, for speaking out for these causes and stuff, but he does not, he's against the protests, and this
is the staying ignorant aspect.
Yes, he was basically saying like, oh, my grandfather served, like, whenever I see the flag, I see my grandfathers who served, in the Army and Navy or whatever the hell, the Marines.
It's a sense of patriotism that was taught, and that he hasn't seen past.
Yeah,
which is true for a lot of people.
So he does this, and his own teammates call him out on social media. And then it seems like he does a 180 where, like, he's first, like, he apologizes, and then Trump's like, "Oh, Drew Brees, you should have never apologized for, you should have stood by your flag." And then Drew Brees, like, turned it on the president and been like, "Actually, here's the thing, it was never about the flag." And you're like, "Wait, what the hell? What, Drew Brees?" you just well, like,
if he learned, which is great.
Yes.
But it's, I don't know, like, just because it was so fast, I don't know if it was he actually learned, or if he's trying to save as much face as possible.
I don't know,
I
man.
tend to lean the latter, but good on him if that's actually it. I just don't know which it is.
I really want to hope that, like, he has learned, but then there's the other side of it that's just like, where have you been for 4 or 5 years of this happening?
Yeah. And maybe it's just no one's talked about it at the level that maybe he would have paid attention to, but
yeah. I've always said that, like, Drew Brees is like one of my favorite players. I used to say that, because he just always seemed like a relatively nice guy, but it's just these are the kind of statements that you let a lot of people down when you stand when you make a remark like, when you completely ignore the police brutality angle of things and then just decide to like, oh no, the protests are about the national anthem, and and talk about that instead.
Yeah, talk about gaslighting.
Right, and so I do hope that he that he finally realizes his wrongs, and that we can move forward without having to talk about national anthem bullshit, because it's just so obnoxious that people want to keep on turning it into that, and actually talk about what is happening with police brutality and general systematic racism that has plagued America. Like it's just like those are the real issues, not like, oh, I had like my one pinky toe in the air during the national anthem and I must be a terrorist. Like I don't know. It's just people are annoying.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a really deep topic, and it's a hard thing for all of us to talk about, but it's an important one to talk about, and I hope that people who are listening to this understand that it needs to be talked about, and understand
also understand that this is coming from a perspective of two white guys who we're trying our best.
Right, and again, I fully will acknowledge my own ignorance on a lot of things, and
our privilege.
And the privilege, right? It's we are speaking from a place that I've not that neither of us have really experienced, but knowing people in the Black community, and knowing and just seeing just seeing the things with our own freaking eyes on Twitter, and what the police are doing, it's just, you can't help but just feel like, holy crap, like things just have to change, and they have to change as soon as possible. So along with, like, I've been having like that COVID description in the podcast, with like COVID information, which I don't even know if I'm gonna even still be doing that. I'm gonna put that link for the Black Lives Matter thing as well. Please do what you can on that front. Black Lives Matter, and love you all. Let's turn into the happier subject, shall we? A little bit of happier subject. We have.
Is there any other NFL news to talk about?
So that's the thing. I think this has been it. That's. Yeah. I think that's why
Dalvin Cook's holding out. That's about all.
Oh yeah, we could talk about that. Dalvin Cook thinks that he wants to be paid like Christian McCaffrey, and he wants to hold out. What's your thoughts on it?
I'm always on the side of let the player get the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard for the Vikings. Now that Diggs is gone, it might be a little easier, but the Vikings just don't have a lot of cap space.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to be able to do for him, but they're not going to be as good of a team without him. So, especially when their entire offense has been revolved around him, they're going to get something done.
And I think the other thing that the Vikings might have to look at and point to in this is the fact that Dalvin Cook has been injured a lot, and out a lot, and while he's there, he's great. I don't think anyone wants to be like his talent's not there. The talent's absolutely there, but
he's not an Iron Man.
Right, and that's going to be a concern, because you don't want to give someone a lot of money that they might play a few games and then go down with a season-ending injury, or someone that just is sporadically out and back and out and back. Like so it's a very hard decision, and for him to hold out, I get it, and I'm with you. I'm very much like, I think the players should get what they deserve. But I think this might be a hard fight for him. Just because of his circumstance for the last few years. So we'll see what happens on that. And then outside of that, there really was not any other major NFL news. It felt like this is like the quiet period anyway for the NFL, but this is what has been really capturing a lot of the headlines lately has been what's been happening with the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff like that. So not a lot, but turn it into a little bit of a more exciting note, we've last podcast we completed our virtual ball boys football league, our 8 teams, and it's going to we are super excited because it started out as just like a fun thing just to be like, okay, let's just make this league, and then like that's it. Like it wasn't really like anything that we had. At least I had in mind when I initially thought of the idea, but now that it's turned into what it has, I want to give you guys a peek behind the curtain as to what we've been doing behind the scenes and what we've been planning for. And Matt, you've been the kind of like the main person doing the document stuff of this, and I don't know if there's a particular place you want to start to talk about. It's up to you how we move forward.
I mean, there's not that much to talk about here. We in the we put together Google Sheets of all of the player types that or positions that we're going to fill for these teams. I suppose we should have we talked about like that we're gonna have people do drafting.
Yes, so we have, but we could talk about it a little bit more.
Okay.
It's so essentially we've been trying to think of like how we can move forward, and we thought that one thing that could be a lot of fun is to get 8 people that we know to just let's all just join up for one night where we everyone gets a team and they all draft for that team, picking video game characters. And so there's gonna be each team's gonna have a general manager. It's gonna be amongst a lot of our friends, including of course Matt and Gabe and a few other people that I don't know. I don't know if anyone else of the group have appeared in any podcasts yet.
I don't believe they have.
But there is 8 people that we've that it pretty much came together pretty much this week where we have eight people that are solidified for that. And so yeah, the 8 of them we're gonna do like a draft style picking of the team that they're gonna draft for, and then we're gonna do a 12-round snake draft of them picking individual players for the team themselves. So what's the specific of the draft?
What's specific about the draft?
Well, what do they have to? Where are like the requirements for each team to be made?
Yes.
Out
Okay.
of?
So each team will have a quarterback, a running back, 2 wide receivers, 2 offensive lines, 2 defensive, a kicker, and then 3 free positions, which they can pretty much go wherever they want. I'm not really sure what type of game or how we're going to simulate this yet, but whatever they pick, they want to try to make as balanced of a team as possible and as good of a team as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We also I have a draft board set up. I have a schedule set up. I was able to work out make a 10-week schedule with 8 teams, which was really hard, and I do not envy the NFL the NFL schedule makers whatsoever. It was fun though, so maybe I would want to try that out one day.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. But basically, the schedule, each team faces their division twice. It's split into East and West that we've been talking about as things have been going on.
Mm-hmm.
But each team will face every team in their division twice, and then every team from the other division once, with equal amounts of home and away. Not that I don't know if we'll have any sort of home field advantage, but it's there.
It exists in the mind of. I mean that could be something that we factor in when we create the game. Of sorts, which is and we've kind of talked about it, but that's kind of where the end goal of all this is going to be, is that we're going to try to create like a RPG tabletop type of thing where we I think assign stats to players and like use those stats to kind of simulate a football game.
And the best part is, since Chris and I are not drafting, we will be totally impartial to whatever goes on.
Exactly. So I think that was the big reason why I wanted to try to get to 8 people, which was a little bit of a headache, but we got it. I'm happy with the 8 that we got, and I think that
it's good.
we're gonna have people seem very excited about it. Now, I did one of the big things I did want to talk about throughout the podcast, for this podcast, is that let's consider this kind of a draft preview of sorts.
Okay, yeah.
Because we're right now talking with people about potentially doing this next week. Not live. We would do it off podcast, and then read the results in the next podcast. But essentially, we have a big board. We throughout the month of May, pretty much, we did this big board of a bunch of different video game series. Not all of them, because that would be a lot. But we did a good chunk of them, and it was both fun, but also, like, after doing like 5 or 6, we were like, all right, let's just stop for the evening and let's just move on. Let's just go try again another day.
So in total, let me do the math real quick while you keep talking about it.
Yeah. So we basically we did like 20 to 25 series, I think. Maybe that's even a little bit more than that. Maybe even, actually, I'm looking at over here. It looks like close to 34 series. Yeah, 34 video game series, and we listed a bunch of characters. Now, here's the thing, though. This is the big board.
It's about like 175 that we personally put in.
175 characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. So we are allowing players. We're allowing the general managers to pick players that are outside this big board, because God, we could not touch on every single video game series. However, we just ask that whoever, if you do go off the big board, that they at least explain to us, like, I'm gonna pick this person for this position because this and that. Like, it kind of give us a reason why this character kind of best fits for the league, and that's gonna help us kind of determine how good of a player that person's going to be for that position, and how much that's actually going to benefit that team. So with that said, now 175 characters, let's just go position by position and just pick who stands out amongst the list that we already have. If that, do you hear what does that work out good? All right.
Yes. Yep.
So let's start with quarterback. Who out of that list that you see there, who do you think would make a great quarterback?
I would love to tell you, but this is loading very slowly for me because of how much shit is on this page.
Listen, we went hard.
We did.
We can't. There is nothing that more than or less that we can say or do here. This is just we did the best that we could. I guess I'll start on it. I think that when I look at the list, there's a lot of characters. But I mean, I think that you just gotta have the main man himself, the one of the grandfathers of video games in Mario,
Mr. Video Game.
You know, like let's just like who else do you want like to be the face of your franchise? Like Mario is like the equivalent of like, I don't know, like Joe Montana or something. Like he's like the guy, like, or I guess you could say Tom Brady even. Like the guy that has been like, that many people look up to as like being like the guy, you know, the video game guy, and like I feel like being the quarterback of a team, being the face of a team, I don't know. I think that's gonna be, that works out pretty well.
Yeah, a lot of the quarterbacks we chose either from a leadership position that they've had, or they're known for throwing things. Like Olimar is on here. There's a Pokemon literally with Pass in the name, Passimian, that's on here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options.
Rosalina.
Rosalina as well.
as a leader of galaxies. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll fully understand Super Mario Galaxy lore. But
She's a princess.
she's right. So that as a leader, then that works out. Samus Aran as well. That worked out well.
Link.
On that quarterback. Yes, yeah. Link also is a major individual, and Birdo, because Birdo throws eggs.
Throws eggs. Yep.
That's really it.
When it comes to running back is a really weird set of groups. Or set of characters. We did, if they were a smaller character, odds are they were put here, which isn't always the case for NFL running backs, but for our purposes, that was the best place for smaller characters to go.
Yes,
for the most part. So you have we put Daxter here, we put Meta Knight here, we put Kirby here, we put Pikachu here.
Yeah, we pulled a lot from the Smash series because that's just kind of like the perfect game to.
That's where we took our where we started from.
Yeah, because that's just a uniting of a whole lot of video games all in one place. I think the reason why that was just, it's not always the case for running backs, but it tends to be a common where the guys that maybe are not just smaller but bulkier kind of get the running back role because they're able to kind of get through the crowdiness of the lines and then be able to dash down the field. They're not necessarily the fastest, but they are able to elude a lot of people, whereas a wide receiver is a lot on the taller side, and they are able to kind of catch things from far away. And running back kind of also blends the two positions together, running back and wide receiver, at times as well. Okay, so that was a good group that you mentioned. What about wide receiver?
Wide receiver, these were a lot of our faster characters, maybe some taller ones that can just speedy down the field. There's Falco from Star Fox. There's Rivali from Legend of Zelda. Both of them are bluebirds. You got Sonic and Tails. Peabody from Portal 2 we drew from. The worst one on the board, because Matt and Gabe are a couple of jokers. Walsh and Gabe are a couple of jokers. They put Phone Guy from Five Nights at Freddy's because phones have receivers.
And you could bet.
And I contractually had to let them put it on there because it was a really good pun.
Yes, and it's kind of one of those things where now we have to prepare for the fact that more than likely they're going to take the Phone Guy in the draft, and
one of those two is going to take the Phone Guy, and they're going to do it with their first round pick. And I'm saying it right here: whichever one is first out of them, this is my biggest draft prediction. Chet Avery here. Whoever is drafts first between the two of them is going to pick Phone Guy with their first overall pick. Their first round pick.
I mean it's almost a guarantee at this point.
And if that doesn't happen, whenever they're actually picked, the other one's gonna go, "Oh shit, I forgot that they existed."
That is absolutely. I would think I would put more stock in the latter of those two scenarios. I think that's absolutely gonna be happening. Where oh yeah, I'll take Phone Guy, and then I was like, oh no, I could have picked it. Oh no, it's absolutely so upset.
And you and I are going to burst out into laughter because we have it on recording.
We're just gonna be like, oh yeah, like check the footage. We absolutely knew that this was going to happen. Absolutely. I am like, but then the jokes is on us because then we have to actually justify Phone Guy being a wide receiver. So we'll we'll see how that goes.
It's fine.
So then we got offensive lineman, we took a little bit of an interesting twist on this one, I think.
So a lot of the players that we chose for offensive line are known for protecting, or they're a little bit bigger. So it was a difference. It was kind of between. They're known for protection, and they're generally on the good side of alignment. The upper part of the D&D chart, or they're just bigger characters in general.
Yes.
Because offensive line in football, they protect the quarterback, but they also want to like block defenders and get them out of the way so that the running back and wide receivers can do their thing.
Yeah.
So examples for this, Aegislash is a shield Pokemon. There's Little Mac. There's Palutena. She's known for shields. I noticed that we put both of the Roys from Smash Bros. In here. The one from Fire Emblem and the one from Mario. So that fucking rules.
I just realized that now, too.
Yeah.
Zelda, I think, was a great one on the protective standpoint. Healer almost. Like I put this on like you said, like the healer class almost of things. Like this is that kind of perfectly embodies offensive lineman in this fake world. Donkey Kong we include as in terms of more of a bigger character,
bigger hero.
Yeah.
Big the Cat as well.
Yes, Big the Cat. Oh God, I forgot. There's some of these I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that we had them. Yeah, where's the ball, Froggy? and so then that's like we went hard on the offensive side, but defense we kind of left open ended. So these are all kind of people who would stop people from crossing into an end zone.
Yeah, so most of them do have that evil alignment to them. Mm-hmm. You got Bowser Jr., King K. Rool, King DDD. A lot of the Koopalings are in here. You have like Wolf from Star Fox. There are some heroes like Red 13 from Final Fantasy. If my thing will scroll up, you can read out some other ones.
Lucas as well, but Gabe, who's our big Earthbound fan, described to us, because I don't think either of us have really played Earthbound.
I have seen Earthbound, and Lucas is from Mother 3, and Gabe would kill me if I didn't correct that.
Okay, all right, cool, all right. But he said that Lucas is like a kind of like a defensive player in Earthbound as well, so that's kind of why he went defense. Like he's being protective of the end zone, so that kind of fit well with that. I just want to put out there though that I think my favorite of this defensive group is Jigglypuff.
Yes,
because Jigglypuff is just there's for no other reason outside of the fact that Jigglypuff grows like into like a 10-story building size, and I think that just the idea of that happening in the middle of a football game just brings me so much joy.
One thing we didn't mention, since Chris and I are both huge Animal Crossing fans, we included a lot of Animal Crossing special characters, but we decided to put villagers in there as well. So we assigned all of the personality types to a different different position. So we have AC Jock. A jock villager from Animal Crossing would be a quarterback. However, just to prevent people from filling up their team with Animal Crossing villagers, or like just from a ton being used, if someone drafts a jock character from Animal Crossing, no one else can draft a jock villager from Animal Crossing. So if you draft Stinky, you can't draft Mac.
Right.
No one else can draft Mac, etc.
Yeah, I think that's only fair. Just because then it would literally just become the Animal Crossing Football League.
We want to see some variety.
Yes, that's what we're trying to. But I also am prepared for the fact that someone's going to pick a particular series and then try to fill their football team with that. So it's just like we did the peak prevention that we could with Animal Crossing, but then every other series
we did the best we could.
Right, exactly. Everything else is out there. And so and then the last position group that we included was kicker. We thought that would be a lot of fun.
So kicker is a mix of they have really long legs. They're known for doing things with their legs, or they're like weird in some way. So like in the legs camp, you got Bayonetta, you got Blaziken, you got Dr. Eggman, you got Hitmonlee, the Pokemon, like known for doing leg stuff. But then you got Sans, you got Toadsworth, You got Luigi's here. Luigi's a kicker. You know.
And
Weird.
Waluigi.
And Waluigi, yeah.
That's a leg. He's more of a leg guy, of course.
He is.
Then I just feel like it's worth noting. There's a video game that me and Cubs bonded over a long time ago, known as My Sims. And so we also included a bunch of My Sims characters on here. Whether or not any of them get drafted, we'll see.
The only person in this group who has any idea who these fucking characters are is Mickey.
Yeah, our friend Mickey, yeah. Oh, God. I want Faye to fucking draft them so bad.
I hope that Faye drafts.
I would
at
be
least
so
one.
happy. I'd be so happy. That'd make my day. And then there's also like the weird we added something last minute, which I don't even know, like I don't even care if we end up doing it or not, but we also added like a special 13th round where we're gonna have them pick their the ball in which their offenses play with.
So any video game object will do.
Yeah.
This was to both circumvent as well as appease anyone who would want to draft the L block from Tetris. Just as an example.
Yes, and also there was also a conversation about the companion cube from Portal.
Yeah.
Which we were like, okay, I think, which it is very, it's hard. We really did have to like go into describing like you have to like have like these characters actually have to be like have a personality of some kind, and then like they actually have to like be like characters or be considered characters.
Whether or not they're
like
playable, it's okay if they're not playable. But
right, exactly. Like
they gotta have something to them.
Yeah, and so, but I think that instead of going into all those details, we're just like, we have a right to veto any selection. we have a right to kind of be like, all right, let's not do anything that ridiculous.
And similar to Smash Bros. Rules, the characters have to originate from a video game.
Mm-hmm.
So no Goku, no SpongeBob, no Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was an example. That was just someone asked like, oh, like does that mean like if I pick Spider-Man, like I don't think they were being serious. They were just kind of like they were just kind of curious like if that was part of it. So that we made sure to include that rule as part of it. So I mean I'm looking to I might record the draft, but I don't know if we'll necessarily publish the drafts like in its raw form. Yeah, right. I'm not too sure. There's a chance that might end up going up on the YouTube channel, but we will see about that. But that's basically that. But there's one other element of this league that that Matt has been working really hard on, and that's the uniforms.
Yeah.
He basically asked me one day, he was like, hey, we should do uniforms, and I was like, okay, and then he was like, can I do them? I'm like, sure, let's do it. Then yeah, definitely. And then like within a week he had like 7 of the 8, and I think the only reason that he didn't have the 8th was because we didn't have an 8th team yet.
I had 6. We hadn't done Phoenix City when I made all the uniforms.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I did when we recorded the Phoenix City episode, I did them after that, and then I did the Anaconda ones.
Yeah.
After that as well.
Yeah. So, what we'll do next week, just to kind of give you guys a fill of even more virtual Ball Boys content. Next week we'll have a video go out where it'll be me and him, and we'll just go through the uniforms. And we'll show them off. It will. I think it will just be fun. The idea that, especially after the draft happens, just to kind of like picture any of these video game characters, in their football in these football uniforms. I think there's gonna be a lot of fun things that we could play up on that front. So yeah, and I think that with that we're pretty much done. This was a shorter podcast than usual, but I kind of again there really wasn't much, and I kind of wanted to let a lot of what we said earlier in the podcast kind of stand out as being one of the more important conversation pieces of it all. But we have a lot. I'm really excited about our draft episode because
Me too.
I want to. It would be a lot of fun to kind of do a lot of fun production level stuff, with that, like where we, as if we like play it live on the podcast, obviously after the fact, after the actual after the.
What do you mean?
Happens.
We're gonna do it totally live and react as they happen.
That's true. That's true. How about this? We'll work.
Chet Avery might be there.
Yeah, Chet Avery might be involved, and maybe someone that will sound almost exactly like me will be there, but will totally not be me. How's that? Because we're gonna be busy working behind the scenes, We can't host the podcast at the same time. I mean, come on. So, yeah. Everything's cool. Any other thoughts on the league or on anything, Mr. Matt?
It's June and I haven't started fantasy football preparation yet, so that's weird.
I don't know. I feel like there's just been no preparation whatsoever for this season. I think everything's at a standstill. Because let's remember,
right.
On top of all the other bullshit in the world, there's a fucking pandemic.
COVID is still happening. So
COVID is still a thing. Yeah, wear a mask. And if you go out and protest, which I encourage you to do, just wear a mask. That's the biggest. Out of everything, that's the most important. Wear a mask, because that is one of the most important elements of preventing any further spread. So please do that. But everyone, again, we love you, and I hope you understand why we took a very serious turn in this podcast for this episode. But again, it is important, and we're going to make sure we continue to promote this important cause in hopefully in other podcasts that we do, at least in maybe descriptions, or that at least we're going to continue being allies in this, and we're gonna fight to make sure that everyone is. Hopefully one day everyone can be equal, and we're really looking forward to doing this virtual Ball Boys football league thing. Hopefully by the time we actually finally do this draft, we have I am able to actually pick a name for this football league.
VBBFL, just
VBBFL. Yeah, there you go. All right, yeah,
it's fun to say VBBFL.
VBBFL.
It's like you like it takes a bit to build momentum, and then it goes really fast through, and then it stops. VBBFL.
Yeah, it's just like you're like it's like
VBBFL.
Yeah, it's like
VBBFL. It's a fun acronym to say. VBBFL.
All right, we're diving into utter absurdity. All right, guys, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks for the draft.
Hell yeah! Good night. Good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys, and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.